Alright, squad, lock S-foils in attack position and switch your deflectors on. It is time for Red 5 standing by. I am one of your two hosts, Jedi Master Nuahs, and with me, as always, is my friend and yours, Jedi Master Johnny D. Say hello.
Hey, Master Nuahs, and hello, everybody. Welcome to Red 5 Standing By Podcast.
That's right, Red 5 Standing By Podcast, not Streamcast. We are changing things up this week. We are not going to be watching the Adventures of the Old Republic. Instead, for the most part, we will be discussing the first two episodes of Star Wars Acolyte, which premiered this week on Disney+. So yeah, we're just going to be changing up our format here for a little bit, playing around, having some fun. Hoping you guys are having fun with us as well. Just a heads up, this will be a completely spoiled 2 episodes, as we aren't necessarily going to be doing a scene-by-scene breakdown, but we are kind of chronologically going to be going through the 2 episodes and talk about things that we thought were interesting or cool, maybe not so much. Not sure. I haven't really talked to Master Johnny D about what he thinks, but that's the idea of what's happening here tonight. We're going to do that for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then we'll spend about a half hour doing a little deep tea with Jedi Master Johnny D as we discuss anything else going on in pop culture or things that we think are cool that we learned this week or played or watched or read or anything like that. Anything we want, because that's what we do here. So yeah, Johnny D,
let's get going. So sit back and get ready to rock out. We're Red 5 standing by. All right, Master Nuahs. So take us through the journey that we're going to take on this Star Wars discussion of the Acolyte and other things.
Yeah, well, let's start off with paying a little bit of respect here. We're going to be talking about the first episode of Acolyte. It was titled Lost Found. It was written and directed by the showrunner, whose name is Leslie Headland. And this was my first... Actually, hold on, that's not true. This is my second venture into the High Republic era. The High Republic era takes place. It's about 1,000-year time period that's in between the end of the Jedi-Sith War and what is commonly known as BBY-0, also known as Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. This show specifically takes place 100 years before the events of the Phantom Menace, so technically that's 130 years before the Battle of Yavin. I previously had read a 6-issue trade paperback by Marvel Comics that was the introduction to this time period. I thought it was all right. I didn't have any problems with it, but I didn't keep going with it. All that said, I'm fascinated with what was presented to us here in these first 2 episodes. Before we get any big spoilers, John, is there anything you wanted to say about what you watched?
Well, yeah, my first impressions were, I thought it was decent. Like it kept my attention. I thought the acting was good. I thought it was an interesting story. It's like has a bit of a detective story kind of vibe to it. There's also some mysteries that they unravel it pretty quickly. But in some ways, I kind of like that. I don't need to be strung along. So it's it was a nice simple story, and they got things going, and it was just neat to see a different era of Star Wars. It's it's every era is different, right? Like we've seen lots of the old Republic with all the KOTOR and Let's Plays we've been doing, and this is a different time, right? It's like in the KOTOR eras, it's all crazy and it's just war after war after war. It's insane. But this, it just shows that what a bit more of a stable Star Wars galaxy is going to be like, and how there's still kind of, there's still some underpinnings of conflict that you're going to see. So I thought it was just a fresh world to dive into. So I definitely find myself enjoying myself for the most part for it. That's my initial
Uh,
reaction.
that's interesting choices of words you use in some of those there, especially in regards to story. And yeah, I completely agree with you. As it was going along here, I was trying to kind of figure out what the story was. At first, I was like, is this going to be a murder mystery? And like, no, it's not really going to be a murder mystery. And then, I mean, we'll get into a little bit more as we go along here with a few little things that, yeah, where it went in directions I did not expect, and it didn't really take that long to get there. All that said, I'm still kind of trying to figure out exactly what the general story is that's happening here, because, well, there's a lot going on, really. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have set a little bit of a stage, but well, anyway, yeah, there's lots of little questions that are still, that they've left. That like who's that figure that turned on the lightsaber at the end of the first episode, stuff like that, right? Like
Well, yeah.
that's completely like there's no that's like where they plant that seed where people can discuss many theories of that, right? And that's always helpful for a show to have a bit of that, just to get the conversation juices flowing. So there's stuff like that, right? But yeah, other than that though, yeah, it'd be interesting to hear your take on it, in terms of like where's the show going, because you might have heard some speculation or rumors of that. So it'd be interesting to hear, to bring that into the conversation a little later on, Nuahs. But also to hear your initial thoughts and predictions and theories, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I purposely tried to avoid any major spoilers or anything like that, or story. The two things that I did know, they both happened in the first episode, and we'll get into it right away, because, I mean, one of them was the very first scene, really. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, maybe where I'm struggling trying to put it together in my head is I don't think they've actually revealed what the ultimate story is, because I mean, let's face it, it's called the Acolyte. We saw someone with a red lightsaber, which is generally the Sith. So, I mean, ultimately, the purpose of this show should be showing how the Sith rose to power and got to where they were in the Phantom Menace. And we really didn't get much of that in these two episodes, but I think that's where it's going. And yeah.
Well, there's your expert eye that I didn't have. I don't notice the lightsaber colors. So when you see the red, it like sends off all these signals in your brain. I was like, I did not notice that. So I didn't even make that connection, right? So yeah, but I mean, they plant those details in a good way, so that the experts can have their trigger their thoughts, and us lesser experts can get triggered in other ways too. So that's interesting that you noticed that. That's cool. Well, I like to hear
Yeah.
all the different little Easter eggs or things you might have noticed, right? Because they're pretty good at planting those, and you're always pretty good at finding them.
Yeah, well, and I'll be clear here. It's all fresh in my mind. I just finished watching them about an hour before we started this. So yeah, let's get into this here. Because yeah, as we go through everything that we've talked about so far, it will come up again. So I mean, the show started with the introduction of, I guess, the Acolyte herself, which we would later learn her character's name is May, and it was an opening fight scene.
Oh, so May is considered the Acolyte?
May, yes, the two.
Not her sister?
Okay, this is one of the two things that I heard before the show started, is that the character, it would focus on twins. So if I didn't know that...
So you knew that. Okay, yeah.
I actually watched the first two episodes with Jedi Master Miltron was with me as well, and he did not know that. So I think he was...
I didn't know that either. So I was like, right away, I was like, clones? Clones? That's what I was going.
I think Jedi Master Miltron was more along the lines of, it was like she was subconsciously doing it and not aware
Oh
that it
yeah,
was
there
her
you go. There you
because
go.
of the dreams and everything that she
Yeah,
was
yeah.
happening, which
It's a good theory too.
I suspect we might actually have a forced dyad kind of thing happening here as Rey and Kylo Ren experienced, because there's a lot of similarities with what they were experiencing in a dreamlike state
Yep. And Leia and
that
Luke.
we haven't
Leia and
really
Luke.
seen.
Leia and Luke.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was one of the two things, and the other thing that I had spoiled for me was in regards to the other character that was introduced. Oh, sorry, to go back. Yes, the twins characters. The dark side one is May Anicia, and the light side character that we will meet later is Osha Anicia. And the other big character that we met at the opening scene was none other than Trinity herself, Carrie-Anne Moss, and she was the character Master Indara. And I mean, it was kind of a rumor, kind of a spoiler, but people who are astute, myself included, noticed that the only scenes from all of the trailers and pre-released footage of her character was in that fight scene that happened
Okay.
in that.
So are we past full spoiler territory?
Yeah, now that we're into the episodes now, like
Yeah, because
spoiler territory.
I was like, oh, cool. Can't wait to see her. She's a really good actress. And then I see her and like, wow, she's so cool as a Jedi. This is gonna be a great show because I can't wait to watch 8 episodes of her. And then
Right?
they take her out. I'm like, what? Was this like a
I
bait
know.
and switch here? Did they like purposely like? How much did people know that she was not that was going to happen to her? Was that like already common knowledge, or was that a total bait and switch of the actor? Right.
Uh, yeah,
And what's
exactly.
the
I mean,
fandom think of that? I mean, I'm trying not to look at I wanted to look at the meta eventually on this stuff because that's very interesting. Like, but right now I'm trying to keep it straight. Maybe I'll get a Google in a bit, and then we can start looking at the meta later on when we go to the deep T part. But yeah, like what was the speculation going in?
like I said, I try to avoid spoilers and all of that, and the only two things that I really knew going into the show was that it was going to be focused on twins, and that
She
Carrie
wasn't
Ann
going to be the
Moss's
main character. Yeah.
and like yeah, Carrie Ann Moss character likely because the one thing they kept doing in all the trailers is someone has killed a Jedi, right? And the only footage you ever saw of Carrie Ann Moss was always in that one fight scene. She was never in any of the other footage with all the other Jedi. So if you used your logic and were astutely watching the trailers, I think you could put two and two together that
yeah, but she
her
was so
character
good.
was
She was so good. It's like the most squandered casting choice for a main character since like the guy from The Office is Reed Richards, man, in the Doctor Strange movie.
Well, I think we
Where it's like I want to see like 10 seasons. What's the guy's name again? I'm so bad with names. The Office guy. I want to see like 10 seasons. Like screw that like
John
Jack
Krasinski.
Ryan stuff. Just do some
John
Reed Richards for the rest
Krasinski.
of your life, right?
Yeah.
And I want to see her
Jim,
as like a Jedi for 10
Jim
seasons.
from
right?
The Office.
Yeah, Jim from The Office. Anyway, but unless they do some multiverse tomfoolery, then that's my only hope with him. But as far as I know with Star Wars, like she's done, unless they do flashbacks, right?
Well, that's what I was going to say.
But she was so good. She's such a good actress.
We
it's like
are going to get
presence,
flashbacks in here. I mean,
part
of the big mystery about the show is that as we were to learn that this character, this May Anicia, is trying to kill 4 Jedi for something that happened in the past related to the 2 twins. So I'm pretty sure at some point we're going to get that flashback of what happened.
It still won't be as good as 10 seasons worth of her character.
No.
Which is whatever. But I mean, I assume she doesn't want to at this part of her life to do 10 seasons of Star Wars shows. I'd pay double the Disney streaming.
Hey,
the shows are well written.
She did 4 seasons of Marvel Netflix shows. I don't see no reason she wouldn't do 4 seasons of a Disney Star Wars show.
Which Marvel show is she in?
She appeared in 2 seasons of Iron Fist, 1 season of Jessica Jones, and I think she was also in The Defenders or in Luke Cage.
All right.
But yeah, her character worked at the big law firm with I mean, most of her episodes were in the Jessica Jones.
Yeah, I figure she'll just be good in anything she's in, so I'll just wait for the next thing she shows up in. So yeah, it's all good. So yeah, whatever. I mean, it was a good scene. I thought it was a good scene. It was a good fight scene. And it just shows how you can take out a really powerful Jedi. It's like, I think they would do this with Spider-Man a lot of the time. Like anytime you want to like evade a battle with Spider-Man, just like cause something to like where all these civilians are going to get like in peril and Spider-Man has to save them, right? And then you run away. But
Well,
she just did the same thing, but just killed her with the diversionary tactics. So,
well,
uh,
random Star Wars trivia moment on Red 5 standing by for Jedi Master Johnny D. Where have we seen that before in the franchise? As soon as I saw it, thought of a
where
specific
you do
scene. I
the
was like, ah,
diversionary attack and then you kill.
yeah, or flee,
Oh, you flee.
kill or flee.
Oh, is it in the prequel trilogy?
It is
Okay, yeah, because I think I'm honing in on it. Dooku does it when he runs away.
correct.
Yeah, that's right. I knew that.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. Does it on
When
poor.
he realizes he's no match for Master Yoda
Yeah, when
after he's already
Obi-Wan,
defeated
and
Obi-Wan,
Anakin,
and
he's taking
that's
Obi-Wan and
correct.
Anakin out. They're all just lying there,
Yep.
and Anakin's no arm, just like, ugh. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. His
Yes.
only hope was to distract him.
Yep.
And
You're right.
yeah,
That's the classic. The classics evade Spider-Man or Yoda maneuver.
indeed. So yeah. I thought, like I said, it was a great fight scene. Another thing I really appreciated was how she realized, because she had training herself when she was fighting, there was the one part where Master Indara used the Force to stop her from getting her with the blade, but she realized that the Force was being applied to her arm and not the blade itself, and she did. If you really watch, she does a quick thing where she uses her other arm and lets go of the blade, and she gets it right up to her throat before she manages to stop that attack too. So I thought it was a cool little touch. I thought that was well done, and I thought that's well thought out, that they are using the Force to block the arm and not the weapon itself, which allowed her to get that sneak attack in, which almost worked. Uh,
Yep.
but like Master Johnny D said, in the end, she did threaten the bartender and managed to get the blade in the heart, and that took her out. But we did see that the character is not completely evil, because as she is leaving the bar, she was about to kill the bartender, and she saw the bartender had a small child and spared them both and walked away.
Yes.
So not completely corrupt.
Not completely evil. She also is as decent manner. She says thank you to the scoundrel type character when she takes the poison from him. She goes thank you. And I was like, oh, that's very polite for a very evil character. Maybe she's not so evil because she's polite. I don't know.
Right?
That's one thing I noticed.
Okay. So I think moving on from there, after that, we met her twin sister, who at the time we didn't realize was her twin sister. I actually thought both of these characters were fine. I thought the actress that played them did a good job, and so far I'm invested. We learned throughout the course of this scene that she's currently working for the Trade Federation, and so shout out to the Nemoidians?
Yeah. Well,
Right?
they might not be the Trade Federation at that point. They might just be Nemoidians just working on their own, right?
No, they are Trade
Oh,
Federation.
they say that
They're not separatists. They are,
Oh,
because
yeah.
the line of dialogue is, we have to go fix the shields. Why do we have to fix the shields? The Trade Federation never uses their shields. Maybe that's why we need to fix them. So
that's a good line. Yeah, I didn't catch that one.
They did say the Trade Federation. They are, yeah. The one thing that they did leave hanging in the air, though, was because they sent the two characters up onto the outside of the ship, which there was a cool line of dialogue where later on, that when the Jedi show up, they're like, having living beings operating on the ship outside has become illegal, enforced by the Republic, and it's supposed to be astromechs.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a cool little throw in there.
Sorry. So yeah, I think I kind of got that. So what you're saying, because you heard it clearer and you remembered it better than me, you're saying it's going to be illegal, or it is illegal, or like, so how is she doing it? Like, is she like the last of the people to do it before they, like how hockey players, like the certain ones could not wear their helmet until they retired? Was that so how come she was allowed to still do that if it was becoming illegal, or if it was illegal?
I don't think they are allowed to do it, but the Trade Federation doesn't really care.
Okay.
Because it wasn't brought up again by the Jedi. I think, though, that's why kind of the Jedi were like, able to kind of do what they want. The Nemoidians knew they messed up and weren't supposed to do that, and we're like, yeah, here you go, here's the chick, right?
Okay.
That's
Yeah, because I think
I'm
they
guessing.
said they like she just says like she's more flexible. I'm trying to
Yeah,
think how human would be better. I guess they would be. I mean, they could do more elaborate fixing jobs. You think an
yeah.
astromech droid? Maybe astromech droids are super expensive. I don't know.
Hey, look what happened in the Phantom Menace. They would have been hooped if R2D2 wasn't the one astromech droid that was out there, because all the rest of them got picked off and flew off the ship.
Yeah, yeah,
R2D2 used the
yeah.
Force,
They didn't know how to take cover. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The
right?
old droid force thing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I,
Shout back to an old episode. So before I forget though,
okay,
yeah,
so
they
here's
because
another interesting. That just reminded me of a cool scene because that's like so if he uses the force to dodge laser blasts, that's like using it at like a level like he's not deflecting the laser blast. He's just basically just sitting there and letting the universe have the laser blast miss him, right? And
yeah, I
the
think the
reason why I bring
Force
that
is
up is because I thought it was actually kind of neat the scene where she tries to use the force. It's kind of like Luke in the was it what's the bantha? No,
the ice cave on Hoth when
the
the
wampa,
Wampa's coming to
wampa,
attack.
wampa, right?
Yeah,
And so it's a
yeah,
callback to that, but she doesn't pull it off. She doesn't pull it off, but the
correct.
ship jolts and then it moves, and you're thinking, well, is that her not using force TK, but her will causes the universe to kind of reward her with a lucky
I,
movement of the key, similar
I
to what
think
R2D2. Yeah, that's
I,
kind of what I was thinking. I thought it was like a neat
I
scene on many different
I
levels.
totally I totally agree. To me, that's the exact same way that I think Han Solo uses the Force and isn't aware of it. It just
Well,
he
I think
just
Han Solo
knows where to
uses it
go.
reflex wise. He uses it reflex wise. Oh yeah, it could be. It could be he's also like the universe how like it's like him dodging asteroids. He's got to use force reflexes, but it's also like
Yeah,
the luck is
he
just with him because the universe is just like the laws of physics and quantum physics. Like everything's kind of determined the path of the asteroids, and it's like, well, we're not going to fly into this guy because he's got this force bubble that impacts reality, right?
exactly.
Okay,
Exactly. I'm on
well.
the same page with you there, Johnny D.
Wow. Okay, so
Uh,
that's some far out force metaphysics we're kind of musing about here. So
Absolutely.
Whew.
Okay, and I got to call back because I know I cut myself off and then we got sidetracked. But the one thing they left hanging there is that because they go send up the humans up there and they say we don't care about them. The cargo is more important, and we never did find out what that cargo was that they had there.
Oh
So I was just
man,
wondering.
I missed that. So okay, what's the scene again?
They send
It's
them
where
out. They go out to fix the shield generators, and so while they're
there's
out there, they
cargo
start
that the
fixing.
Trade Federation's carrying. That's of
It goes back
importance.
to the Nemoidians inside, and they're talking. We got to activate the shields, and they're like, "Well, if we activate the shields, the people out there will get killed." And he's like, "We don't care about the people. We care more about the cargo." And then she says over the comms, "You know, we can hear you out here, right?" And so it was a funny joke.
Yeah, it wasn't funny. I remember that joke. So you think the cargo is something special, or I always thought
It's
it's just money and that's all they care about.
yeah, it's probably nothing important, but it makes me curious. What was the cargo? What why they're so important, and why were they kind of freaked out when the Jedi showed up? But anyways, who
Yeah,
knows?
who knows?
Get called back later. It might not. Okay, I will say the one other discourse I did see, and I didn't understand it when I saw it because I try to avoid X. No, I'm not calling it that. I try to avoid Twitter uh, when I can, but I did see a bunch of people complaining about the fire on the spaceship. I specifically saw one jerk who's like, "This is what happens when you have a woman in charge of Star Wars. There's a fire in space, blah, blah, blah." Well, to you, sir, you think fire can't happen in space? You know what else can't happen in space? Death Stars can't happen in space. Hyperspace can't happen in space. TIE fighters don't go screaming through space. It's Star Wars. It's a galaxy far away. I had no problem with the fire in space. And besides, it was a pressure valve. How do we know there wasn't oxygen being released from that pressure that was enabling that fire to happen in the first place? There's my rant about the people complaining because they just need something to complain about.
Well,
Did you,
here's my thing about fire in space to show that it's badass is the line from uh, Blade Runner, the Tears and Rain monologue. It's called here by Rutger Hauer, and he goes, "I've known adventures, seen places you people will never seen." Where's the line here? Oh, seen things you little people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulders of Orion, bright as magnesium. That's the line.
See?
So,
Hey,
Rutger Hauer, the replicant for Blade Runner, has seen ships on fire in space. So,
that's right.
that's as
That's
intense
right.
as it gets. And that's sci-fi, like classic mythology right there. So, you can have fire in space because Rutger Hauer's replicant has seen it.
Wasn't there a blast of fire when the Death Star got destroyed?
Yeah. I mean, it's like
Like,
whatever.
come
It's
on, whatever.
there could be enough. There's probably enough oxygen in spaceships that to keep fire going, and
Yeah,
whatever.
I look at it.
It's a
I
different
look at it
universe.
this way.
Laws of physics might be different.
I look at it this way, but without looking, if that's the biggest thing people complain about, then the show's doing pretty darn good.
Well, whatever. I mean, haters gonna hate. We all know that.
I do have something to complain about, actually. I'll complain about it later. I have something to complain about from both episodes. I'll leave it at that for now. So we got to meet that character. She got introduced, and then we get to go to Coruscant. And wow. One thing I noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, Jedi Master Johnny D, but since this takes place 130 years before any version of Coruscant that we have seen up to this point, there were still trees. Did you notice that?
Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah, when they showed the establishing shot of the Jedi Temple, excuse me, you can tell that it hasn't been built up quite as high just by the way that the temple is elevated, if you know your landscapes. And on one of the roads leading into the Jedi Temple, they had individual trees planted there. So aside from, was there a tree in an episode of Mandalorian? The episode that focused on the Doctor when he was, I think, no, it was a mountain. It was still a mountain, so there was no trees. So yes, this is the first time we have seen natural vegetation still on Coruscant that I am aware of.
Okay.
I thought that was a cool little touch.
Yeah.
Uh, and and so while we're on Coruscant, we also got to meet, which is my favorite character from the show. I'm sure it's going to be everybody's favorite character from the show. The Qui-Gon Jinn, I think of him of Star Wars Acolyte, and that is Jedi Master Saul. He was the character that we met before, Osha. She was a Padawan that trained under him. I guess she did become a Jedi at one point, but she's been gone from the academy from the Jedi for 6 years. I just thought this guy was cool, man. I liked everything about him. I thought his performance was great. I thought his attitude was great. His philosophy was great. I say he reminds me of Qui-Gon just because he seems to think differently than most of the Jedi. That was, I thought, well presented when they introduced his current Padawan as he was looking back at a holocron he had, and his Padawan even questioned him, like, why do you concern yourself with last Padawans? Like, you're not supposed to be attached. And I think he astutely and correctly pointed out, you must meditate on the past so that you do not repeat the same mistakes.
Yeah. I agree. He was pretty good. And I thought like he was a good I don't know, anchor or whatever. Just he just leads you through the show. Like once he grows on you, you're just like you just want to see more. Like the Adventures of Saul. Like that's definitely he was my favorite probably character eventually after the first 2 episodes. And I did look him up because I was just curious about who he was, and I didn't look too much, but it did see one wiki thing in the wiki article saying he did study like Liam Neeson's performance or whatever. Yeah, he was, or he had seen it and he was inspired enough to kind of channel that, right? But he didn't speak a word of English 4 months before the show started, so he had to get trained very
Oh wow!
diligently into how to talk because he's South Korean, right? So yeah, he had to work hard with his his trainer to get the lines down. But yeah, I think he's got a great presence. They cast him because they loved him in Squid Game. I guess the show is. I've only seen like the first episode of that, but yeah, he's got a great
I
presence, and yeah, he's definitely a cool character. I like him.
I I haven't watched any of Squid Game, but you're leading me on a random tangent here now, just because I'm pretty sure you will know this. Because I didn't know that he didn't speak any English. I knew he was from Squid Game. I didn't know if he'd done
Well,
anything else.
yeah, or
But
like
it's
very, very,
Korean,
very, very
correct?
little, very little. Yeah, yeah, Korean. Yeah, yeah.
Now on Lost, if my memory is correct, and the irony of it was you had the two Korean characters on Lost. You had Daniel Day Kim, and you had Son. I don't remember Daniel Day Kim's character's name, but on the show, the husband didn't speak any English, but the wife secretly did speak English. But
Yes.
in real life, the actor was completely fluent in English, and the actress that played Son actually didn't speak English and had to learn for the role, despite it characters being the opposite. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, I do remember that. It was correct. Yeah, because is it Daniel Day Kim? Yeah, I'm
Daniel
pretty
Day
sure.
Kim was
Pretty sure he was born in L.A. Yeah, he was basically like born and raised in America.
I think he might not have actually even spoke Korean. I think it might have been that extreme.
Yeah, he didn't even speak Korean. Yeah.
That he had to learn Korean, and
Yeah.
the person who spoke Korean had to learn English. And yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Cool. Acting. It's amazing. You can
Acting.
act like you
Thank
can't
you.
speak English.
So that also reminds me that we did skip over a couple of other characters. We did miss.
Oh, sorry. The power of the internet when I'm not playing the game is that I can look stuff up. So he was actually born in South Korea, Daniel Day Kim.
Was
but he moved to the States when he was 1 year old. He grew up in New York City. New York City. There you go.
New York City.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah, sorry. We also missed earlier on. We were introduced to another character who was in both episodes. Jedi. I don't know if he's a Jedi Master. I think he's just a recently anointed Jedi Knight who goes by the name of Yord Fandor.
Oh, he's like the guy with the cool kind of hairdo thing and showed off his
cool hair.
Showed off his muscles.
I mean, the character.
He's a bit of a dweeb. Like he's like a cool dweeb.
I don't think I've ever seen a dumber Jedi, to be honest.
Well, I think there's like a bit of a nuance that they're showing, like how the Jedi in this high order is like they're kind of like you can see the flaws that of just them being in control, and they're just kind of getting a little fat and dumb, right? That eventually the Chancellor / Emperor exploits, right? Like I think they're kind of showing that, like how the one like Jedi comes in, she's all worried about freaking the political game she has to play, right?
Oh, I was going to bring that up. Yeah, I even wrote down the line of dialogue because that had me intrigued. But the one thing that came to my mind was, well, I guess it does make sense that just because someone is strong and attuned to the Force doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have like an IQ of 170 and be the smartest guy out there. And you are in this time period and you're going to have the high number of Jedi that are out there, some of them aren't going to be the brightest light bulb in the socket.
Well,
right?
Yeah, and he's like book smart, right? He's just like, what are your recommendations? And he just gives a textbook answer about how like they're gonna like, whatever, secure the perimeter and all that crap. And then the other Padawan just like has this neat little idea of like tricking the guy. She thinks a bit out of the box, right? So yeah, there's gonna be difference in people's creativity, right?
Indeed. And the other character that we met at this point is the Padawan to Jedi Master Saul. That character's name was Padawan Jeki. And I do know, because I knew she was in this, she's one of the only actresses that I knew of before I saw the show, aside from Carrie-Anne Moss, and that was Daphne Keene. Do you know the character and the actress that I'm referring to here?
So you're talking about Padawan, right? Yeah, I thought the Padawan was cute, cool, because I thought I don't know, she was like I don't know, just kind of spunky and kind of nerdy, but kind of like just I don't know, just kind of had some fun vibes to her. Like I like how she's like, I don't know, she's like flying the ship or something one time. She's like stand down, you're under arrest or something like that. She's like playing like this little kind of nerdy Jedi Padawan, but she's like acting all big. I thought that was.
Definitely,
I thought there was just. Yeah, I liked her a lot. Like, I thought she was cool. And
definitely
so,
some Ahsoka Tano vibes going on. But
oh
sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. So what's her name? Daphne. What?
Daphne Keene.
Okay. What was she, what's she been in?
She is the actress that played X-23 in Logan, the child female clone of Wolverine. That's the same actress playing the Padawan in this show.
Oh man, I barely remember that character. That was a good movie
You
though.
know,
Logan was a good movie, but yeah.
right?
Um. Oh, okay. So that was a while ago. She must be. Yeah, she must have done that when like how old was her character? I can't remember that character. I'm sorry, I can't
Logan
remember that.
was 2018, and I think if I remember correctly, her character was supposed to be 9, and she was 11 when
Oh,
she
okay,
did
okay.
the
Yeah, that
show.
makes sense. That makes sense. So she's like an older teenager now. Okay, that makes
She'd be
sense.
probably around 15 or 16 during this show.
Okay, anyway,
Uh,
that's just pretty cool.
so yeah. And then we were also introduced to the character of Jedi Master Venestra. She was the bald green Jedi Master that came to Jedi Master Saul and informed him that Master Indara had been killed. And like you just mentioned, the line of dialogue that really got my ears perked up is that she wanted Jedi Master Saul to take care of the situation as quickly and as quietly as possible before their political enemies could use this against us. And I'm sitting there going, huh? Political? What political enemies?
Yeah,
This is like, right?
yeah.
Uh,
Could
I,
be Trade
I mean,
Federation. Could be
I,
who
I
knows else. What
suppose
else?
if a guy really wanted the answer, there's probably about 20 novels and 30 comic book trade paperbacks all about the High Republic era that a guy could go and
Well, I'll just wait for them to
learn all
unfold.
about that.
I'll wait for them to unfold it for me in the TV show if it's
Right.
necessary. I assume they'll. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be happening on this show, but yeah. I'm
Well,
curious. Maybe
I mean,
it's enough to get me to. I do listen to a fair amount of podcasts. Maybe I'll switch to a few audiobooks and check this out because I am
I just go
interested.
to the podcast. I'll do summaries for you. Now, the thing is, how many episodes is the show going to be?
I believe it's 8.
Okay, so they only got 6 more left to go. Okay.
I believe it's 8, and I know all the critics received the first 4 episodes.
Okay.
So that's what I do know. So then we had a scene where it's a scene, not a sween, a scene where it switched to after being arrested, they put the OSHA character on a ship that was completely run by droids, where we had a pretty cool breakout scene. I also thought that the pilots of the ship that were droids that actually are chairs. I thought that was a cool little
That was a
touch.
neat little
Not
idea.
something I'd seen before. And I liked the jail escape because I really like the alien, which I gotta also shout out. I was pretty impressed with all the variety of aliens that we'd received or seen throughout this up to the show up to this point. I like the different variety that was in the opening, and I liked a couple of the cool aliens that were incarcerated, including the guy who it was like a second mouth opened up out of his forehead, and he used his tongue to attack the oh yeah, I was also going to mention the protocol droid that was running the ship because he had the 2 chair droids that were flying it, and then I think they had just the 1 security droid, which to me looked like C-3PO's body but buffed up on steroids with a Cylon head on it from Battlestar Galactica. As soon as I saw it, that's how I was like, that's a buff 3PO with a Cylon head.
Yeah, yeah.
uh but
Yeah, so I mean, the thing
yes.
about the droid ship was, yeah, I thought it was cool, but I was also like, what the? Why are they doing that? And then it was interesting how the guy called back to it. The Jedi Knight who says is kind of a dumbass. Yeah, he definitely admitted he was a dumbass. He's like, I should have escorted her myself, and I was like, yeah, you should have. She kills a Jedi, and you just like pawn her off to a droid ship. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But I was like, well, maybe it makes sense because you're a dumbass, or it makes sense because there's more to him than we see. He
Oh
could be
ho
he could
ho!
be shifty. That was my other speculation. But I just thought I thought it was kind of dumb that they. I mean, I think I thought it was dumb, and then like something made me kind of go, maybe the Jedi are just getting so lazy that's why they're using droid ships. And I was like, well, that makes sense. That goes with this kind of like how they're getting fat and lazy at this point of the High Republic. So yeah,
Right?
or it was all intentional to make her whatever. I don't know. It
Well,
was. I
well,
definitely was. That was where I was kind of going. Is this writing okay or not in my brain? But I think I
yeah.
let it slide, and I was like, whatever. I'm still enjoying the crash landing and her meeting her former master, and her kind of having these visions on the planet. I was like, whatever. I'll just go for the ride,
Well,
not overthink things.
that's fair, but I think your assessment is 100% bang on. I mean, we did not mention that the show didn't have an opening crawl, but it definitely had I don't know what would it
Well, they
could
do
have
a
been a
good job with the
crawl.
subtitles. They have like nice little subtitles that says, "Here's the setting, and here's a bit of nuance to it." Right? I'm sure
Yeah,
they had that.
and,
I like that.
and they
I don't need an opening crawl
they
for every show now, right? So
they literally said that there's been 1,000 years without war in the galaxy.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
like you
yeah.
said, they gotten fat and lazy, and yeah. So
That's
yeah,
why they use
I'll
droid
give it
ships.
that. And then, and then that pretty much brought us to the end of the episode. And my first complaint, like I said, I have two complaints from the two episodes, and both of the complaints are the same thing. I just needed another 2 or 3 seconds at the end to breathe. I felt the cut, the edit, the after the final line of dialogue in both episodes, it was just like bam in your face, like whoa, it's over. Like didn't even give me a second to contemplate on what I had just seen. So that was my major complaint over the two episodes.
Oh,
I
because
did
it
not
was
like
it was right after the figure turn on the lightsaber,
that.
wasn't it?
The end of the first episode happened where the character goes to. I thought it was Octu. When to me the topography looks just like Octu. This is the planet that Luke was on in The Last Jedi. This is I believe that it was the first temple built by Force users because it's both a light side and a dark side holy site. I thought from the trailers and from what we saw in the episode that it could be that, but now I don't think it is. I think it's the planet Orega, which is what we see in the first scene in the next episode. But anyway, the final shot of the first episode, there's the helmeted Sith character. You don't see a face. It has a voice modulation, and it basically just shows up to Osha or to May and says, "You do not fight a Jedi with a weapon. You will lose. You need to kill a Jedi without a weapon to kill the dream." Something like that. Don't quote me exactly on what the final line was. And then he turns on his lightsaber and there's bam, and like whoa, that was just really abrupt. But other than
Yeah,
that, I thought it
yeah.
was awesome.
Well, I think they ended the second episode the same, kind of abrupt too. Well,
Exactly. That's why I say
yeah, I
that's
guess
my
that's the
complaint
style.
for the
That's
two
the
episodes.
style. Yeah, I guess that's the
I'm
style.
it's the only time I thought the rest of I thought they did a really good job of holding to the style of they did the quick wipes and all that. It's just the ending itself was just the issue that I had. But I thought everything else was great. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the first episode. Anything else you want to chime in there, Johnny D?
No, I think that covers the first episode. Let's move on to the second episode.
All right, so then the second episode is titled Revenge Justice. This one is directed again by Leslie Headland, but it is not written by her. It is written by, pronunciation may be off, but a Jason Micallef and a Charmaine DeGrate are credited as writing this episode. This is also when I noticed, since now that I'm fully knew that it was twins, I think that's the dichotomy going on with the titles. Has each episode has two words in the title. The first one was Lost Found. The second one was Revenge Justice. And I think in each case, one refers to the light side twin, and the other one refers to the dark side twin.
Yeah, makes
Uh,
sense.
that's what I think is going on there. So that's kind of clever. Yeah. So like I said, this one we started off on the planet Orega, and I think this is where she saw the Sith Lord at the end of the first, if that is the Sith Lord. at the end of the first episode. I don't think it's Act 2. I think it's all happening on this planet. I think pretty much the whole episode took place on this planet, except for the final scene, if I recall. She is here to kill Jedi Master Torben. So there's a cool little sequence where she managed to infiltrate this Jedi temple on this planet. But when she found Jedi Master Ortega, he was doing this force meditation.
Or Torben was his name. Torben.
His name was Master Torben.
Yeah, Torben. Not Ortega.
No. Ortega is the name of the planet.
Oh yeah. So Master Torben. Yep. Yeah. I thought so. I thought that was cool. This guy just floating there. I thought that was kind of the neatest kind of concepts that they had, and how he's got like this shield around him.
Is a force bubble, or does that always happen when you force meditate? Does it always protect you, or
10 years? I think he's been doing it for 10 years straight. Because it was like this intense amount of force bubble around him, right?
Yeah,
because it was like impenetrable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it was impenetrable. Like you said, he hadn't been talked to anyone in over 10 years, and she was doing everything she could.
There for 10 years, don't you think?
I think so.
I mean, as long as you don't need to food or eat food or drink or take a shit, I don't know, maybe.
Well, it was pretty obvious he hadn't shaved his beard in 10 years, because holy cow.
Was it long? I didn't even notice it being that long.
Oh yeah.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why I didn't notice that.
I thought it was kind of silly looking, actually, to be honest.
Okay.
I thought it was a choice, but then I realized it's because they're going to be doing a flashback, and that guy probably won't have that silly looking beard on in the flashback. That was just to show that he has not moved in 10 years, so it made sense. And yeah, so she couldn't do anything. And then she goes, and this is where we meet a new character. I might have the pronunciation of the name wrong. I only know his name because I had the subtitles on, and it was spelt Qimir. And this guy is pretty interesting, I think. He said that he had took over for the shop owner. She notices, what are you wearing? And he's like, I'm just trying to blend in with the people. And they have a conversation where it's apparent that they both know and serve the Sith person. They reference him as Master. And so he explains to her that you're not going to be able to kill him, and she has this idea that she wants to poison him. They think it'll please the Master, but she also makes a point to not tell him. And then so she goes off to try again with Jedi Master Torben, and at the same time, the rest of our crew, we had Yord Fandar, the Padawan, and the main character, Osha, traveling to planet Ortega as well, and they are descending on the Jedi Temple at the same time that May is there with the poison to try and kill him again. This time, now this was interesting, she basically puts the poison in front of him and demands that he either turns himself into the Jedi Council for his crimes or kills himself, and she will forgive him. And he actually awakens from his slumber and drinks the poison, and I guess Jedi suicide.
Yeah. That was pretty intense. And I try to remember now, because they actually later on they're like, he would kill himself. They're shocked that he would kill himself. But I forget. Right. Did anybody have a theory or answer from the characters? I forget. Because I was like, wow. I was like, he must have something must have horrible have happened for him to have decided that. That's obviously, it was horrible enough for him to go into this 10-year vow of silence, basically, and then it was horrible enough for him to it just must have been guilt, I guess. But do you remember? Did the characters when they speculated? Did they reveal? I forget if they kind of speculate anything. Because I was looking for some answers as well.
up to this point, we've kind of been learning as we go along that, okay, both sisters thought the other sister was dead. And for some reason, the Jedi thought that the twin sister May was dead. In fact, Jedi Master Saul was convinced that he was. He literally said that he watched her die. And
Yeah.
so
And another thing
we
is that the
know,
sister thought, she seemed to say that her sister was responsible for killing her family, I thought.
yes, she said something about setting
Because she's like, I
the
want
fire.
to see them because she, I think they used they, so I wasn't sure if she was talking about the sister because it was whoever he was going to talk to next. Saul was going to talk to next. So I was like, well, either it's the sister or somebody else, but whoever it is, it's someone who's killed. Is it Osha? Is that her name? Her family.
Yes.
So
Yes, because
yeah, so
Osha's under the impression that May, her twin sister, started a fire that killed all of her family.
oh, it's
And
a
I'm getting
fire. Okay,
and I,
okay.
I'm getting the impression that May thinks the Jedi are the one that killed her family. And that's why she's on this revenge, because her mission is to kill
Wow. Okay,
4
so
Jedi.
now I'm
She's trying to
thinking
kill
about
Jedi Master Torben, which she
yeah,
did. She's
yeah.
trying
Well,
to
and
kill
he was
Jedi
guilty
Master
enough.
Indara.
He felt enough guilt, I'm guessing, to kill himself. Um, I'm also wondering. Okay, so this is trying to piece together. It's still pieces, right? That's all we have is pieces. But
Because there's also a line of dialogue when she fights and kills Carrie Ann Moss at the start when she says she's trying to get her to fight him, and she says, Jedi don't kill or Jedi don't attack unarmed people. And she says, yes, you do. And that triggered a response from Carrie Ann Moss. Like, and that's when Carrie Ann Moss finally stood up and they got serious in the fight. So I think that has something to do with whatever that's happened 16 years ago before this story
so
takes
Carrie Ann
place.
Moss's character had some sort of like guilt or recollection of this bad
Because
situation, obviously.
I think all 4 of them were there present that this May is out to kill. The 4 Jedi are Master Torben, the guy that was meditating that died this episode, Master Indara, Carrie Ann Moss that she killed in the first episode. We know Jedi Master Saul was there, and the final Jedi that was there is the person that we see in the last shot of the episode, Jedi Master Kalnaka, a Wookiee Jedi. So all 4 of them were at this event.
Yeah.
But
So
the mystery for me would be though, if it was bad enough that this Master Torben went into a 10-year meditation and decided to kill himself, why are Indara and Saul not affected by that? I guess the other question is well, what's up with this Kalnaka character? Why is he living alone on this jungle planet? So maybe this Torben and Kalnaka were in on something that the other 2 were not, and we'll learn that from Kalnaka in the 3rd episode would be my guess as I'm figuring this out along with you guys.
Yeah. Well, one thing I was just thinking about also is that so you got twin sisters. One is an 8-year-old. As an 8-year-old, gets recruited to train with the Jedi, which is old, but they still recruit her. So
Yeah,
where was this? Was that after this event or before? I guess it was after.
that was after because
Okay,
she had no. I think
they
that's why
found
they
her, and
agreed to
that's when they
train her
probably
because
recruited her as a
they,
Jedi.
they yeah, and all of her family died, so she had nobody left, and she was strong in the Force, and so they recruited her.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess the speculation could be that maybe this Torben and Kalnaka, maybe they're in with the Sith Lord or something, and because I mean, she's obviously been trained and knows how to use the Force, but everyone else thinks she's been dead for the last 16 years. So, was the Sith present at this event that happened 16 years ago? And that he made it look like she died, and he took her and told her
Yeah,
that the Jedi are the ones that killed her family.
yeah. There's
That's
lots of meddling going on. Lots of untold stories still. Yeah. So yeah, but obviously that Torben guy, he was feeling it, and he took his life. That's crazy. It was intense.
right. And so, okay, now this is another. I mentioned this at the start of the podcast here, where I was really happy with this because then, so he goes ahead, he takes the poison, he kills himself, she leaves, and then of course Osha is the first on the scene to discover the body and pick up the vial. And right when she does that, the rest of the Jedi come barging in the room, And it's like, okay, here we go. Now, like, they thought she was the killer, and then she wasn't the killer. Now they're going to think she's the killer again. And I kind of like, oh, God, are they really going to do this? But it surprised me. Jedi Master Yord came down the stairs, and he's like, nope, she didn't do it. I followed her when she split off. I saw her the whole time. He was already dead when we got here. And I went, whew, I am glad they didn't do that. So I thought that was a clever little twist, and I liked how they made me think they were going one way, which I didn't want them to do. And no, it was just I don't know. I just thought it was kind of
Yeah.
a cool little twist and scene, and thought that was well done.
Yes.
Yeah. And so after that, I forget exactly what happens, but basically the next big thing that happens is the Jedi find this Khmer guy because they figure out that the guy was poisoned. There was only one place on this planet that she could possibly have gotten the poison, and Jedi Master Yord had the brilliant idea of just, well, let's just go in there and take him and force him to tell us what we want. But the Padawan, the young one, had the brilliant idea of, well, we don't need to do that. We have Osha, the twin sister. Let's just send her in there, and we can make him think that it's her evil twin, and we can get him to spill her guts. And so, yeah, that was another thing where I was like, oh, this Jedi Master Yord. But don't get me wrong, I like him, but I shake my head at him a little bit. Uh, so that was cool. I like that. Um, so they go in there and they find. Now I'm curious what you thought about this, okay? Because they go in there and they're all listening to the conversation, and once he admits that he gave her the poison to use, Jedi Master Yord he's like, no, let's go get him. And Master Saul is like, no, wait. And then he waits for the next bit of dialogue where he says, our master, since you killed him with our weapon, our master will be very pleased. And it was after that Jedi Master Saul is like, okay, let's go in and get him. In my head, I couldn't figure out why. Why, after learning that he was responsible for giving him the poison, he wanted to wait. Was he just hoping to fish out more information, or
Well, I almost
I
felt
don't
like he thought she was in danger. That was one thing I thought maybe because he did like abruptly go, we
know.
gotta go in.
Yeah, that's true. Because then he did say that you do look just like her, so it was revealed. But I thought that he said that before the poison thing, and they still waited. But I could be wrong. I'd have to rewatch that.
There's also
Uh,
one scene which I was questioning near the end, and I was questioning whether it just didn't make sense. It was like kind of writing was a little off, or what. But the May, the dark side one, she basically goes to the whatever scoundrel type character, right? And it's like
yeah,
I forget if she grabs him or he grabs her or something. But like he like basically like one ups her in like a little like scuffle. And I was like, how the hell does that happen when she's like a total ninja? And he basically
right.
like kind of like one upped her like in a quick like reflex kind of one-on-one thing there. Do you remember that?
I do remember that, and I also noticed something else suspicious about this guy, because as I pointed out earlier, when she says, "Why are you wearing that?" Because he had this cloak, he's like, "I'm just trying to fit in. I got it off the guy that owns the place."
Yeah.
But as the Jedi were watching him, because he knew that he was the guy. He's walking down the street and he's pointing at people. And at one point, he hands out like a piece of fruit. And I'm sitting there going, that's not something a guy who's trying to fit. Like, if you're trying to fit in, you're trying not to draw attention to yourself, right? And I just thought it was very suspicious, just the way he
Yeah.
was
Either
walking.
that
Like,
or I thought he was high. I thought he was high as F because he's like obviously like indulging in spice is what I
it,
noticed
it,
too, right?
it could. It could be that, but it also goes back to my point where I don't think that they're on Act 2. I think they are on the same planet, and so the Sith Lord is on this planet at the same time that all of this is happening. And so I think this guy, if I had to pick out of any of the characters that we've met so far about who the secret Sith Lord is, this is my suspect number one. I mean, it's almost too obvious,
It's that guy,
but there
and he's just wearing a mask, and so he's basically pretending to talk about him, and then he's actually him. Is that what you're thinking?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is completely coincidental, but when I was watching this with Jedi Master Miltron and he commented at the end of the first episode about the guy's voice, he's like, that guy sounds like Kylo Ren. As I was watching him in the second episode, this guy almost looks like an Asian Adam Driver to me.
Yeah,
And I could totally see it like, yeah, you know what? That could have been his voice through the voice modulator.
yeah,
But
yeah.
like I
So,
say, I mean, he's suspect number one, but it's almost too obvious, I think.
oh, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. All right, so we're
Like,
planning our theories now. We'll see. We'll see how we do. I mean, it's definitely, yeah. It's not like I'm saying like I don't think we're saying with 100% confidence that's the situation. We're just throwing out some speculation of possibilities that might be
absolutely.
thrown out there. Yeah.
Absolutely. I also liked how they managed to get the "I have a bad feeling" line into this episode. I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
it was forced. I felt it was subtle that it almost slipped by me. It was like I had to do double takes.
Just
Like,
felt
oh
like a good
yeah,
line. It felt like a good line
right.
to put at the
It,
time. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't feel like it was forced at all. And then yeah, the only other thing I really have to say here, as I've noticed, because there's also the big fight at the end of the episode where she's confronted by Jedi Master Saul. I thought the choreography and the cinematography was great. I loved how you could see everything. Uh, I thought the way that she escaped from the fight by doing like a force push, but doing it down into the sand to create this
Yes, I
cloud
thought
of
that was a good.
dust and sand.
That was a
I thought that
smart
was a
play. Smart tactics.
smart play and a great way to use the force ability that's probably one of the most common force abilities, but still do something new with it that I hadn't seen before. But I also noticed during that fight, she was trying to steal his lightsaber, just like she was trying to steal Master Indara's lightsaber. They show it two times in each fight, even in slow motion with the whooshing sound as she's diving by trying to grab that lightsaber. And I know in EU old Star Wars Legends canon, the only way a Sith could get a lightsaber was by claiming the lightsaber of a Jedi they defeated in battle. So I think that's a shout out to that little bit of old Star Wars Legend EU. In order for this character to become a Sith and have a lightsaber, she has to take it from one of her victims. And I think that's kind of what they were going for with that. But yeah, and then yeah, at the end we get to see our first live action Jedi Master Wookiee. I know there's a Jedi Master Wookiee that are in the High Republic novels and characters, but I do not know enough to know if this is the same character from there. I do know that the green, bald-headed female Jedi Master that we saw in the first episode, I do know she is a character. I know that that alien lifespan is 300 or 400 years old, and that specific character is featured in a bunch of the novels and comic books. I kind of think too she could also possibly be uh, a suspect for whoever the Sith Lord is in this time. I did get a bit of a weird vibe from her, and I just think because she does go that far back into the storytelling that they've done to this point, I think that just would add a little more to those that follow those stories and that part of the Star Wars universe. I think that would add a little more oomph to the situation if it was revealed to be her, just because she has a history that they would be familiar with. But I don't know, pure
Well, I mean, that
speculation.
kind of goes to the earlier thing you said is like, where is this show going? What's it like? What's it trying to plant in the Star Wars um, big scheme of things, right? Because
Yeah,
I mean, is it going to try to plant a lot or not? I mean, it's got to. I mean, it's got to plant something because this character, this red lightsaber Sith-like character, obviously is going to be important, right? No matter
yes.
how non-epic or epic this show gets, because I mean, right now it's relatively non-epic. This show at this point, it's basically like all pretty much will contain is like a kind of a bit of a mystery kind of novel thing.
The thrust of the story so far, what is going going on so far is the mystery of what happened 16 years ago with these four characters, and that's not enough to sustain, in my opinion, an entire, and especially at the pace. Like, this show isn't drawn out. I am really happy with the pace of the show. I never really got bored of it, but that storyline at most is going to be the first. That'll be done by the first 4 episodes. It has to be. And I think the ultimate goal, the big storyline, I think, and that's probably why they did not send the entire 8 episodes to critics and only the first 4. I think by the time you get to the end of the 4th episode, that's when the epic
Oh,
storytelling, the
they'll up it.
scope.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to get, especially since this is brand new time frame for so many Star Wars. You got to get invested in the characters first. Otherwise, if you don't care about the characters, the story isn't going to hit. So I think it's probably what they're doing and a wise choice, in my opinion, to spend 4 episodes focused on the characters and then the 4 episodes to expand the story beyond that after you have a grasp of who these people are and why you do or do not care about them. Right?
Yeah.
And that's why like so much of the Star Wars has fallen on deaf ears and the Disney is they did not understand it's the characters, stupid. I was fine with 7, 8, and 9. Introduce all the new characters you want, but you had to pay more respect and give more time to the original characters because that's what they care about the most. At least for me as a Star Wars fan. I love it all, but I mean, anytime you got Luke Skywalker showing up, I'm in 100%. You got my money.
Yeah.
Anyways, yes, that's that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next episode. I can't wait to share my thoughts on it with everybody else.
So we just get one next week, right?
I think it's 1 a week from here on out. That's correct.
Got it. So it will be interesting to see what the episode lengths will be. Because anything over 40 minutes is pretty good, but then, if you only do one a week and it's like 30 minutes, I don't know. I know they do that sometimes. We'll have to see. See what they do.
I don't know. These episodes didn't. I mean, maybe because I watched them back to back, but they didn't feel that short to me. I know when the second one ended, I was like,
"No, they're about
30
minutes. About 40 minutes left. They're about 40 minutes each. I think maybe the second one was shorter, which would make sense."
I think the official runtime was 45 minutes on the first one, but 5 minutes of credits because they do every single language known to the human existence and then some.
Oh yeah. So one other thing I want to call out is I thought the music was good. I thought it was like kind of like a good little like, let's do John Williams, and they just did their own version of John Williams. I was like, I like this. This is good. I like this. So
I got 2 thoughts on that. I did not notice the music, which to me is a good thing. If you notice it, that means it's sticking out because it's bad. The few times that it did kind of, I was like, oh, that's a cool. Yeah, you're right. They did definitely go with a traditional Star Wars John Williams feel. But what it was missing was, and maybe I'll notice it on a rewatch. Maybe I'll notice it, but they didn't really have any great character themes. And I think a lot of my favorite Star Wars pieces are the character themes or the Force themes.
Yeah.
I didn't really notice that, but you're right, 100%. They did get the John Williams vibe down.
I think he was hired to be like, just do John Williams. He's like, yep, sure, I can do it. And then he just did it.
Yeah.
And just made it his own, but it was basically just doing that. I mean, it's like the music for like KOTOR 2. I mean, KOTOR, those had some themes I know, but I mean, at times it's just like straight up just good John Williams type music, right?
100%.
Which is sometimes you got to do well at. I'm trying to remember what was the Andor music like. Was that because like the Mandalorian is super different, right? For music, right?
The first 2 seasons of Mandalorian, because the guy that did the first 2 seasons did not do the 3rd season. I think he's moved on from Star Wars, unfortunately.
But it's definitely it was cool. It was a cool change and had like it's definitely had a personality. That's for sure, eh?
Yeah, Andor, again, it was no complaints. It was good. The one thing that just stick out with Andor is I remember the theme was different for each episode. I mean, like I believe that the musical notes were the same, but they were using there were slight changes where they were doing different instruments or adding different things that were somehow relevant to each episode of Andor. I was just one of the many things that were just brilliant about that show. If you're really paying attention, it's subtle, but it's there.
Yeah. Here's a little blurb in the wiki article on Andor. It says they want to have unique sound, be orchestral plus. So there you go. That means make it John Williams like, but more. And it says
Yeah.
every episode is new demands, new music, and new ideas. It's important that as the story evolves, the music should evolve too. So there you go. So you basically are hearing that with your recollection. So there you go.
Awesome. And the other thing I'll say in relation to Andor as well is I had it right on the tip of my tongue and it got away from me. Oh yes, I got it now. I think I can see a big difference and I can feel it between Andor and this show and say Book of Boba Fett or The Mandalorian, whereas this show did not use the volume and neither did Andor. I think part of its crazy, insane budget was that most of it was location shooting. And while I'm not criticizing The Mandalorian, I do feel that I could tell half the time when something is the volume and when something is a real location set. I think there's something about the depth on screen where
So
I
sorry,
feel
what
like
do you mean by the volume? I didn't
the
catch that.
volume is when they don't use green screens, but everything is like a giant video screen behind them. That's how
Oh,
they
is that what the
do.
tool is called? Yeah, I know they do use that. And I thought it was pretty cool how they did that. But you're saying you can see the seams with it,
I
right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like how I prefer, like, if you watch an old episode of Star Trek, the classic series, and you would get the opening shot of when you're on a new planet, and it would
Yeah,
just be a matte painting,
yeah,
is what
yeah.
I
And
believe
it
they
was
were
obviously
back then.
it was a sound stage in matte painting. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
and then in the late 90s and early 2000s, they stopped doing that and well, let's just do a CG thing. And I
Yeah.
actually think that the old matte paintings of the 60s look better than
Oh yeah.
the
I mean, you look
CGI
at some
stuff
of
they
the
were doing.
shots and you look at some of the shots in Wizard of Oz. You're like, holy smokes, that looks good.
Yeah. So to me, the volume, it's almost like just the 21st century version of the matte painting,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it's
And sorry, why do you call it the
right.
volume? Is that the tool or
That's no, that's the name of the stage that they
the
have set.
volume?
That is what it's called. Yeah, when you go to film on The Mandalorian, the set you are on is called the volume.
The volume. How do you spell that?
Yes. I assume it's just like audio volume, VOLUME. I don't know
Oh,
why they call it that,
that's
but
a
if you watch
weird
any of
name.
The Mandalorian, if you watch The Mandalorian behind the scenes stuff, that's what it's called, the
They call it
volume.
the volume. So it's not just volume, it's the volume.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. I guess they named it for a reason. Maybe it's I don't
Yeah.
know. It's being bold. Putting the word the.
It it is. But do you have a final word on Acolyte today, or is it time for a little deep tea with Johnny D before we have to go?
No, I think it sums it up. I think it's we were entertained and we're ready for more. That's our summary. So it so far gets a I gotta think of what's their equivalent of a thumbs up from us. So we'll just say I don't know.
Out of 5 red 5 standing bys, how many standing bys does it get?
Oh man, I don't know if I prefer like the binary like thumbs up or thumbs down. So but is that copyrighted? Are we allowed to just say thumbs up? Is that like is that acceptable in this world? Um I'll say
There's
I
one way to
say
find out.
I say it gets a one like from Johnny D. We'll use YouTube since that's what we're on right now. So it gets a like for now.
All right.
And how about for you? I assume you get the same, a like from Master
It's it,
Nuahs?
it's out of 2.
Or you can use the red 5. You can use, how about you use the standing scale? Go with that.
I'll give I got 4 reds standing by.
Okay, there
Four
you go.
four reds out of 5 standing by.
Got it, got it. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I'd say I'm between a 3 and a 4. Probably closer to a 4. It's not a solid 4.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
I won't go
Then
into
I think
why
it's
it's not a solid 4, but I just always hedge myself a bit, you know.
well,
I would need more money. I would need them to spend 5 times as much so there could be all these awesome space battles. That's how you get up to a 4 for a Star Wars show. There were
that
some
would help.
cool space shots, but yeah, I'd be okay with them just kind of cranking it up and then asking me to spend $60 a month instead of $20.
It does not affect my number of 5 standing by, but it would be nice if not every white person on the show ended up getting killed. But anyways, I digress. Not everyone that died was white. It was like if you weren't white, you're gonna live. If you're white, you're gonna die.
Well, you know, they got
all the
change
white
up.
people on the show died.
Was it in the olden days? Was all the black people would get killed right away?
Yeah.
Well, so you know,
it's like like I said, it doesn't affect. I just noticed it. I noticed it. That's all.
I can't remember even seeing a white person in that show.
Carrie-Anne Moss and Jedi Master Torben, the only two.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all white males, at least. At least, you know, it's a white woman. It's an equal opportunity. Equality.
There you go. Yeah, we are the new black people.
Time to move on to Deep Tea with Johnny D. What do you want to share with us this week, buddy?
Deep
what are you
tea.
Doing?
So, well, we'll go totally different. I'll educate you a bit. You probably don't know very much about this guy or anything at all, but a famous, very briefly famous YouTuber and stock picker, Roaring Kitty, came back after disappearing. He was the center of the GameStop saga a few years ago. So I'm not sure how much you know about the story, Nuahs. I probably told you a bit before, but it's basically where all these retail investors got in this big fight with hedge funds, and the GameStop stock went crazy. So this guy was like the leader of it, more or less. He's the hero. He's more of a hero. He's a really funny guy. He just started off as this mild-mannered, did like a stockbroking, stock picking YouTube channel. And so it's funny. I've watched some of them. And he's just nerdy guy like us. But just instead of talking about Star Wars, he talks about stocks. But he's into like betting on GameStop, right? And GameStop is like, it should be dead. Like nobody's going to go buy games from a mall anymore. And he's like, oh, no, there's all these reasons why it's like super undervalued. And like you can make a lot of money if you put money in it, right? So he put $50,000 down. Then basically there's this thing called a short squeeze happens where all these like hedge funds bet against it because they basically are like gambling that it's betting that it's going to go to like nothing to be bankrupt, and you make money off of like playing the stock market that way. And he's betting against those guys. And so when a short squeeze happens is that you can get to the point where you kind of get stuck playing the short side where you're betting on the thing failing, and then the stock could spike. And that's what happened. So this guy, he made $50,000 turn into $50 million. And he was posting all his gains on this site called Wall Street and Reddit, Wall Street Bets. And so he becomes this hero. And he has to the whole thing crashes and falls apart. GameStop's still, highly valued stock relative to what it should be. A lot of people made a lot of money. Some people lost money. There's a lot of shenanigans where they kind of halted the stock market a bit. Like there's all this like feelings that there was like a conspiracy to like protect the bigwigs, the hedge funds. So this guy disappeared. Okay. He had to disappear probably because he was he was getting like potentially sued, or people thought, is he manipulating the stock? Like, can he go to jail and all that stuff? So he basically shuts down, disappears. And then he's gone for 3 years, right? He just disappears. You're thinking, he's got to lay low. But I'm pretty sure he found a way to be I don't think he did anything wrong. He's basically just saying he likes the stock and basically doing that kind of stuff. So he shows up like a week ago just on Twitter. We'll call it Twitter, but it's, and he showed up out of nowhere 3 years ago, basically showing a picture of a guy sitting back and then a guy leaning forward. It's like this meme, I think, related to GameStop. It's like a gamer showing that he's into it. And then the stock started to kind of build up again. And so, there's all this kind of buzz of him coming back. And then he finally posts how much money he has. He basically has $300 million now because he kept on betting on it. And he basically he's created his board. He went from 50 million, now he's at 300 million. I think it's spiking up and down. He almost became a billionaire, I think, yesterday. So anyway, he came back on YouTube and streamed finally today. And the guy's so funny. He's he always had a mullet and wore a headband. So he's kind of this kind of, I don't know, kind of a little bit of a punk rock kind of funny guy. He shows up, his hair is down to his waist. I think he's not not cutting his hair until he sells GameStop. Anyway, so he shows up and he just rambles on like us. But yeah, it was a big news that he came back. he's a bit of a hero of mine. I'm not invested in GameStop, but I definitely like to follow the story and appreciate his insights on the economy and all that stuff. And I just like to see a guy just having fun and being a hero to folks. So that's the tease that he came back. Roaring Kitty is his name, also known as DFV, or known as Deep Fucking Value, because he looks for value stocks. Things that are super cheap, you buy them cheap, but then you sell them when they're high. So that's the T. So he came back.
So what stocks has he been buying recently aside from the
Just
GameStop?
He's all in a GameStop. That's all he cares about.
So he's managed to make 300. I thought wow, okay, that's insane.
Yeah. Well, if you bet enough, right? But it's all like he hasn't sold yet, so it keeps on going up and down, right? Because he's basically, I think he owns like probably 2 to 3% of the company now.
Okay.
And he's basically betting against these hedge funds because they're continuously still doing this war, and people think that they still are stuck in some of these shorted stocks. That's what some of the GameStop pumpers are thinking, right? So there's a chance that there could be another spike, and that's why people are continuously buying it. That's why it keeps on going up and down, right? Because everybody's trying to kind of bet that it's going to go 10 times, but it can easily drop. It could drop 99%. That's why they call it a casino. Wow. Yeah, so he's
right.
He's kind of He's he just doesn't give a fuck, and he's just having a good old time. And so obviously he's gotten he can afford obviously good lawyers, but I'm pretty sure they looked at the situation and realized no. I think because people are saying he's manipulating the stocks, but I think the counter argument is that anybody who's on CNBC, CNN, Bloomberg, all these networks basically chatting up stocks like Kramer and all that stuff, they're just doing the same damn thing, right? And they're just playing the market in such ways so he's no different than them. And so he's allowed to do whatever. He can spout off whatever he wants to, as long as he's not trying to manipulate the market. So,
right. Huh. Well, consider me enlightened.
No
idea.
Yeah. Well, and if you want to watch his old videos, he'll talk more about GameStop stock. Like I've been watching a really old one, and he's talking about how he's trying to play the lumber market. It's pretty funny. So,
all right.
Yeah, so if you want to become an investor, you can watch his videos. You can learn a lot about investing. But
you could invest, yes. You could also bet.
Yeah.
If I was a bet man, you know what I'd bet on?
The Oilers.
That's right.
Yep.
I would bet on the Edmonton Oilers. You want to know why I bet on the Edmonton Oilers?
Why is that?
Well, because they're about to play the Florida Panthers for the Stanley Cup starting tomorrow night.
Yes. So where's Vegas?
I know.
Oh yeah. What do you know? What's the inside edge?
Well, to be honest, I don't even know what Vegas has them. That's a good question. Maybe you can look that up. But one thing I do know is that the Carolina Panthers are coached by Paul Maurice.
Yeah.
Paul Maurice has already won the Stanley Cup. I believe it was with the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, no coach in the history of the NHL has ever coached a team to a Stanley Cup victory and then left that team that he won the cup with, joined a different team, and won another Stanley Cup. No coach, except for one, the greatest coach of all time, Scotty Bowman, who did that with 3 teams.
Yeah.
But no other coach. So I respect Paul Maurice. I think he's a good coach, but he does not deserve on that elite list of Scotty Bowman. So that's one thing going for the Edmonton Oilers. Two other big things they got going for the Edmonton Oilers.
You don't have the will anymore because you won it once as a coach? Is that what happens?
I just don't think the hockey gods allow it to happen.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's, we'll take all the help we can get. So I'll take the hockey gods.
The hockey gods don't allow it to happen. The other two other things they got going is you got Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And Connor McDavid has been good these playoffs, but he hasn't been amazing yet because he's been saving it up. There's no way.
That's some amazing moments.
The greatest players, they get their cups, man. Messier got his cup, Gretzky got his cup, Lemieux got his cup, Crosby got his cup, Ovechkin got his cup. Guys like Pavelski, guys like Thornton, they're not the greatest players. No one ever thought they were. But everyone knows McDavid is the greatest player. And he is going to get his cup. This is it. It's this year. Going to happen. Bet on the Oilers.
Yeah.
Telling you.
The other
thing is good. I don't know what Vegas is, but I know like the sports columnists and the TSN and the Sportsnet. I know the majority, it's like 65% of them are predicting Florida to win the cup. And I know there's guys out there. It's Connor McOverrated is the big headline. It's probably what they got pinned up in their dressing room that he's using for inspiration. Saying he's not good enough. He's overrated.
Well, I mean, they'll shadow him, right? Like, so they'll shadow him, which all teams have done. And whether, I mean, eventually he breaks out of the shadow somehow. I mean, he did, I guess, through every team. And then you have the rest of the team. As long as the rest of the team can help contribute while they're wasting all their time on him. Or not wasting their time, but,
Well, Florida's a bunch of bullies.
On them.
They're a big, hard-checking team, and teams like that are going to take their penalties. And that's what we want.
Yeah, but if they're going to call him,
come at us.
Yeah, that's a concern. I mean, they're going to try to injure. That's for sure. Like they sound like they're scumbags.
Last year in the Stanley Cup final, there were 27 penalties called. So if they keep up that standard of that refereeing and calling penalties in the final like they did last year, the Oilers will be getting their chances.
Well, if you were to bet $100 for the Oilers, you would win 139 because that's what the one odds here is. 139 to 100.
All right.
The Florida is a minus 139 favorite. So that's actually fairly significant.
So
I think.
Click your likes, click your subscribes, send us your money. We'll pull up $1 million, bet it on the Oilers. And all of our likes and subscribers will each get 1%. No, that's complete BS. Don't listen to me.
Yeah, we'll have to put a disclaimer in front of this. But yeah, it should be exciting. Tomorrow night's going to be an exciting game to see. I always like to watch the first game. Well, I like to watch all the games, but the first game is always that first game against Dallas, I was like, you know what? I think we can beat this team. I was kind of worried about Dallas, and it was like, no, I think we got a chance. I don't say it out loud. I don't think it too hard, as I don't want to, jinx things. But the first game will help set the confidence level for me, right? But
right.
I'm coming in pretty, fairly more confident than I was for any other series. That's for sure.
Well, I gotta say, I mean, this is a young coach. This is an inexperienced coach. There's never been a bigger disparity in games coached by the two coaches in the NHL final. I think Paul Maurice has coached like 2,000 some games, and this is going to be the Oilers coach's 67th NHL game ever coached. So he's not the most experienced, but what it is I've seen a pattern against. I mean, LA was a little different, but then we were down against Vancouver. We were down against Dallas, and then he adjusts. After the first 3 games, he sees what he needs to do, and he ain't afraid to do it. He'll sit veterans if he thinks he needs to make a change to his lineup, and he adjusts to what the other teams are doing. And then the last 2 games, we've just kind of dominated. I mean, you say, well, the Oilers weren't dominated the last game. You know what? Or didn't dominate. They kind of did. They just let Dallas do what they wanted, but all their shots were from the outside. They stopped Dallas from doing the cross-seam pass, which makes Skinner go from side to side, which is where he's weak. So even though Dallas got their 30 shots, they weren't the kind of shots that are going to beat Stuart Skinner, who, by the way, another stat, is 4-0 lifetime in playoff series clinching games. Anytime the Oilers have won 3 games and Stuart Skinner has a chance to win the series in the next game, he's 4-0. So if the Oilers can get up to 3 victories, statistically, Skinner has never lost. He's almost like Grant Fuhr, where the numbers aren't really that good, and he's going to let in bad goals, but he's going to win you the games when he needs to. That's what he's been doing this year.
Yeah.
That's what Grant Fuhr did, right?
Yeah. Well, he's been on a journey too, right? And I think he's been building up his confidence, and I think at this point,
did you know that the Oilers hired this sports psychologist that's been around he used to work with he worked with Mike. I think he even lived with Michael Jordan for a year. He worked with Kobe Bryant. He worked with Tiger Woods. Apparently, he's been on the Oilers payroll since November.
Oh
This
wow.
guy,
Okay.
this
Huh.
famous sports psychologist that is like worked with every team that's won championships at every level in professional sports. I didn't even know this till like
Huh.
last week
I wonder
because
what
they
it'd be
were
like talking
pointing
to that
out
guy.
that Stuart Skinner, after they won Game 6, he was the guy that Skinner went right over to the bench and
I
gave him
wonder
a
how much
hug.
he
And
charges an hour. I wouldn't mind having an hour with this guy just to help sort out my life. I mean, I
I
don't want to say a
remember,
regular shrink, but I'd see some crazy sports psychologist. I assume he's going to charge at least $100,000 an hour, so that'd be, yeah.
I remember many moons ago when I was a young Padawan, and we had our friend Jedi Padawan MacNeil, we'll call
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
And I wasn't at the Jedi Temple yet, and I still lived at home. And my mom thought that I might need to go see a therapist. And Master McNeil said, "Man, you don't need a therapist. You need a motivational speaker."
Yeah.
But
Did you ever
yeah.
get that motivational speaker?
No, I did go to see a therapist instead, and they said I didn't need to go see a therapist, so it all worked out.
Did they tell you to go see a motivational speaker?
No, they told me I should be a politician.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, it's not too late for that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a whole group therapy, and that was what you don't need to come back. You should be a politician now.
Well, you got my vote.
One other hockey related thing, I mean, this is video game because the Stanley Cup, the Oilers are successful, blah blah blah. I've been playing a lot of video game hockey. I'm in my third season as a general manager here. I'm on game 55 of season 3. I don't play every game. I choose when and why to play games that I do. There's some logic to it. Sometimes it's just how I feel. But there are certain teams that I play every game each year. And I am now into my third year, and I have lost every single game I have played to the Dallas Stars in 3 years. They're the one team that I haven't beaten yet. And it's like some weird hockey god mojo going on.
Well, good thing you weren't our coach last series. That would have been awful.
The last game I played was earlier today, and I was winning 2-1 with 2 minutes left to go, and they pulled their goalie and scored to tie up the game. We ended up going to a shootout. I hit 2 goal posts and ended up losing in the shootout. I don't know what is going on when I play the Dallas Stars. But,
oh man, you got your number.
That's all I need to talk about that. I'm sure nobody cares about video game hockey.
Oh yeah. We all care about
anyways.
video game hockey. Yeah, so I did check out Age of Origins.
Oh. Well, now we're turning into a 4-hour podcast because I can tell you I've had the craziest week in Age of Origins. But what was your experience?
So,
just tell me your experience.
Well, one interesting amount of cleavage at the start of the game. So this is a mobile game where you fight zombies. So I can see why you like the game, and also had some cleavage, so I can see why you like that part of it. Wasn't too keen on how they wanted to like access my photo and video, but who knows? Maybe that's common for for mobile games. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot going on. It's like a city building game, and so I explored all the features, and like you are right, it's a ton going on. I'm just going to follow the tutorials at this point. That's what I honed in on. My mobile phone is crappy, so my battery is shit. I probably need a new phone someday. So it was killing my phone battery. So that's why I couldn't play it that much this week. But I did play it because I had some off time because I was in a certain part of just had to just deal with some off time with my mobile phone. So I tried it out, and yeah, I'm getting my feet wet. We'll talk more about tomorrow when we watch the game together there in Nuahs. But yeah, that's Age of Origins. Check it out if you want to check out some crazy mobile game action where you fight zombies and look at cleavage.
And as you progress in the game, it's definitely all about playing with people. It's the kind of game where you're only going to get so far and so advanced if you're doing it by yourself. So yeah, I mean, I highly recommend it. I've been playing it for months now. That's why Jedi Master Johnny D is giving it a shot to check it out. I am the leader of an alliance that has 70 active members that are playing every single day and helping each other. We've had some crazy. We actually kind of had war breakout earlier in this week, and yeah, there's no time to talk about it, but it is quite the unique experience where it's like Johnny D says, it's a city building game with war elements as well as mini games like tower defense and something that I reminds me of Smash TV, a top-down kill as many as you can in a certain amount of time sort of thing. And yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about it
mini
more in the
games.
future.
Yeah, the mini games kind of kept me engaged for a bit, so that was fun. All right.
The mini games are what got me in and what kept me on. And now I'm at the point where I don't even do them anymore because I don't get anything from them. But
Well, it's
yeah,
like a game
no,
of
they are a
civilization
lot of
for you
fun.
now, right? It's a game of civilization, is my guess, right? Because there's so
Yeah,
much you
civilization with where everybody's a real person. Every city's a real person, and some of them like you and some of them don't, and they let you know.
can do. Yeah. Just like real life, yeah. All right, Nuahs, any other topics for us to talk about?
No, that's it, my friend. I mean, we could quickly do a little bit of Star Wars trivia if you like, or we can leave it for next time and call it a night. It's up to you.
Well, if you want to do Star Wars trivia, maybe that's something we might do every now and then. So yeah, you want to do like you just ask me questions, or I don't think we have an audience, but if
Well,
anybody shows up, they can answer.
last time I was on Coruscant, I stopped by one of the thrift stores that were there, and I picked up Star Wars Trivial Pursuit. It's very meta that they had this in there, but they did, and I thought it would be useful. So I have a couple of hundred cards. So what I'm thinking I'll do is every week I'll pull one random card. I just gotta take
Oh
this
yeah, you
wrapper
won't know
off.
the answers either, right? So we'll
So
both.
I don't know the answers. I will not look at the answer side. I will simply read the question side. I'll give both of us a chance to answer, as well as anybody that's listening. And afterwards, once we have read all 5 questions and given our answers, I will reveal what the answers are.
Sounds good. Let's do it. One card. Let's do it.
So one card will have 6 questions. Each question is from a different category. Off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly what the categories are, so I'll give you the information on that next time. I'm just going to get straight to the questions here. First question: what beast finishes off Jabba's green-skinned dancer in a couple of quick bites? Oh, come on.
That's an easy one.
I got Rancor, correct. Yeah. Oh, well, I didn't even know if that's correct. I'm not looking, but that's got to be correct. That's my guess too. All right, Second question. Who tells Anakin, "You have become a far greater Jedi than I could ever hope to be"? Who tells Anakin, "You've become a far greater Jedi than I could ever hope to be"?
Well, I have a good guess. If you want me to guess first.
Let me guess first, because I actually don't know this. My guess and my instinct, I mean, it has to be Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Who else would he be talking to that?
Yeah. Because Qui-Gon didn't know him as a Jedi. So it's got to be. For the record,
this is Trivial Pursuit 2005. So there's no Clone Wars. This is strictly the movies, the first 6 movies. So my guess is Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Your guess is Obi-Wan as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't think who else to be.
All right, well,
it's a little harder than the Rancor one, but not that much harder. Unless we're wrong.
Not revealing. Unless we're wrong. We're going to find out. But I'm keeping score.
Yeah.
We're going to keep a running tally as we go.
I remember we played one game of this, and I remember there was some easy ones, but there was some freaking hard ones that show up in this game.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So let's see what Lady the Hands of Destiny has for us tonight. All right, keep them coming.
Third question. Who does Han Solo describe to the Ewoks as an old friend of mine? Who does Han Solo describe to the Ewoks?
I know the answer.
I'll let you go first. As an old friend of mine. No, you go first this time.
All right, C-3PO.
Okay, I'm going to guess Luke.
Oh, really? No, it's so funny. It's so funny because they're trying to tell C-3PO to help translate for him. And C-3PO is like totally like screwing it up. And so Han Solo gets all mad. He's like, "Why you?" And he goes to charge C-3PO. I'm pretty sure this is how it plays out. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is how it plays out.
Okay.
So he goes to
So,
basically strangle C-3PO, and then all the Ewoks stick a spear at him. And he's like, oh, he's an old friend of mine. Which I thought was funny.
okay, you're probably right, because you know what? Yeah, where I thought it was, it's too early in the movie. I thought it was after Luke and Leia took off on the speeder bikes and they split up. Luke comes back first, and that's when like, well, where's Leia? So Leia's just meeting the Ewoks then, and I thought in my head under the pressure, I thought it was that moment where Han was already with the Ewoks, and he's like, no, this is Luke. He's an old friend of mine. But I think you were right, and I was wrong. We will see.
There we go. It's getting harder, a little harder every question.
All right, next question. Who characterizes Luke's shot in the Death Star trench as 1 in a million?
Well, I know that one too.
I think the line of dialogue is, "Great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million."
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Han Solo.
So it's got to be... What's, sorry?
It's Han Solo. It was definitely not Chewbacca.
I was going to say it was Wedge.
What? You're going to say
it was Wedge? Yeah.
Really? That's your final answer?
That's my final answer.
Well, you were. I can definitely say with confidence that you were wrong, my friend. So
we'll see. All
that's
right.
the problem with these Clone Wars cartoons. Fills you up your head with too much stuff, and then you can't remember the classics as well as I can.
Too. Someone might have switched my death sticks on me here.
Well,
you're
just too busy thinking about all the Clone Wars episodes that you've seen, and I'll just think about the original trilogy again, over and over and over again.
All right. Fifth question. What type of transport trundles along on 8 large tank treads? What type of transport trundles along on 8 large tank treads?
Oh, this is where we get to the tricky stuff.
Well, okay. Well, do you want me to go first? I mean, I instantly knew.
Really? Okay. So 8 wheels? Is that right?
8 large tank treads.
I mean, it's okay. Is it in the prequel trilogy? Is it in the prequel?
Could be. This is all 6. I can't give you a clue
because the only thing I can think of is that
Trivial Pursuit represents.
I don't remember any sort of
6.
I don't remember any kind of mobile tanks. I remember there was a toy I thought from the original series that was a big tank. I give up. I don't know.
Well, this is where I make up my point. My guess is the Jawa Songcrawler.
Oh, yes. Well done. Well,
all right, okay.
Could be. I mean, it probably has 8 wheels, right? I thought we saw that more.
I don't know how many it has, but it's the only.
Well, the only thing I can think of, I think that's the best
there
guess.
Is one on the Battle of Geonosis. There is one.
That's
on the
right.
Battle
There
of
are
Geonosis.
tanks on the Battle of Geonosis, but I think that is the one kind of thing on with treads and tank like is the Sandcrawler. So good call
that's
there.
Right.
I think that's a good guess.
Oh my God. Okay, now this one. I have a guess on this one. I don't know it though. It's strictly a guess. You might actually have me here, my friend. Final question. Star Wars Trivia Night. What role was Japanese film star Toshiro Mifune originally considered for? What role was Japanese film star Toshiro Mifune originally considered for? So I have a guess, but it's strictly a guess.
Yeah, because I mean, he must be somebody who's like in Akira Kurosawa movies, right? Which Lucas was super
exactly.
into.
That's right.
I'll guess Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi was my guess as well, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, time for the answers. The first answer to the first question was the Rancor.
Yes.
Which we both got correct.
Yes.
Who tells Anakin you have become a far greater Jedi than I could ever hope for was indeed Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yep, 2 for 2. Or 2 out of 2.
Who does Han Solo describe to the Ewoks as an old friend of mine? Ding, 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 Johnny D, C-3PO.
Yeah, great scene.
You now have a 3-2 lead. And now up to a 4-2 lead because it was Han Solo said the 1 in a million shot. But we can get the score back up to 4-3 because it was indeed a Sandcrawler that was trundling along on 8 large tank treads. And we both get the points because Toshiro Mifune was considered for the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which instead went to Alec Guinness. So, I had 4 points and you had 5, correct?
Yeah. Pretty
Nicely
close.
done. Nicely
Yeah.
done. Well,
we both got some questions that others
advantage.
didn't get.
Johnny D has the upper ground after tonight.
Ha.
I must be careful.
Sounds
Well,
good.
my friend, anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think that was a fun podcast. So yeah, thanks for hosting this, Master Nuahs, and thanks everyone for joining. I'm just going to play the outro music here. So yeah, and yes, I guess may the force be with you, and may the force be with y'all.
See you next week. We'll talk some more Acolyte. May the force be with you.
May the force be with you.